Well, welcome to the podcast. And again, it's Rob Elliott, your host. And I can tell you what, this guy's an amazing person. He is from Detroit in America. He's a podcaster. He's a public speaker. He's an author. But when you hear his story, you're going to go, wow, this guy has achieved so much when so many people said he wouldn't. Welcome to the show, mate. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Rob, for having me. I'm so excited to be here and to share a little bit of my story with your listeners. Thank you.
Mate, no worries. So do you like to be called JT? Is that okay? I won't get in trouble?
That's great.
No
that's
worries,
a
mate.
that's that's a nickname as well as a few other ones that I've acquired over the years.
Yes, I think we've all acquired the odd nickname as we grew up and got older. So, what part of America exactly are you from?
So the Detroit area, so
Hmm.
Michigan, and Detroit, and about 15 minutes outside of the city.
Yep. And so, what's it like over there post COVID?
And everything. Sorry, it broke up a little bit there.
So how's Detroit handling now? We're starting to come out of
Okay.
this COVID.
Really well. It's really good to see things coming back to
Mm,
normal. And as you had spoken to me about is with my podcast and the public speaking area of things,
mm.
being able to interact with people again and getting back out there has been a great blessing and very exciting to have that.
So, did you grow up there?
I did. Yeah, born and raised right outside of Detroit in a
Yeah.
city called Grosse Pointe.
Yes.
And it's been a great spot for me and the family, and lots of activities that are based around the water here.
Mm.
So lots of fun with that.
Now, I was reading up on you as a young fella. You had some challenges growing up.
Yeah. So throughout my early life, I was born with something. Well, two aspects of challenges,
Mm.
and one of them being medical, and the medical side of things starts from birth.
Yeah.
And and it was a challenge, and I was blessed and very fortunate to have parents and family and friends that were able to support me as well as my parents and
Mm.
getting through those early days
So
and
what
years.
what was it like at school with being? I mean, we all know kids can be cruel, and it's normally their way of handling somebody who's slightly different. What was it like going through what we call junior school and into high school?
Yeah. So for me, was a very good experience. I went to a small school,
Mm.
um, and and I was very fortunate to grow up with these kids in the same community and in the same school system,
Yep.
and having a very close knit of friends that were so supportive. And to give you a little bit of a background of the medical side of things in my life, that and I'll talk a little bit about transparency too.
Mm.
Um, in in the early part of my life, I was born with something called Vater syndrome, and it's
Yeah.
a syndrome that affects different aspects of your body and
Mm.
mostly your GI system, and as well as spinal cord issues as well. And so I was born without an esophagus. I was born without an anus. I was born with um, uh, I, I with having to have a resectioning of my colon, and
Wow.
had a colostomy bag for the first 2 years of my life.
Uh,
And these different medical things were definitely a struggle for me, but and a challenge. But when you look at it all together, I always say, first off, uh, the patient typically has it, even though they're going through it, they have it the easiest. It's the caregiver
mm.
that has it the hardest
Mm.
watching it. And I that's where my blessings first off start, is from a great parents and doctors to be able to take care of me and get me to where I am today. And in the medical side of things, I've had about 16 operations since
Yeah.
birth,
Yep.
and these have all been very successful, and I'm very healthy and doing well as of today, and very active. And back to the schools part of things, I struggled with dyslexia
Yep.
as well. And the dyslexia was something that really was the challenge that we noticed in what we would call our lower school years. And
Mm,
so those lower school years, we started to realize that I was falling behind the other kids. And
mm,
now this was a time that I was being pulled out of school for, weeks at a time for medical things.
yeah.
So sometimes we thought it related with that.
Mm,
And other times, the teachers and psychiatrists and things like that started to put it together that this dyslexia was to be taken care of.
mm,
And um, and so as I progressed in school, we found a program that really worked for me
mm.
and ended up uh, moving to Colorado. This is where I had great success with being able to get to a point where reading and writing was manageable and was something that I could succeed in.
Awesome. So quarterback was ruled out pretty early in your sporting days.
Yeah, and yes, and with that, the transparency side, uh when it comes to side of things with friends and
Yeah.
things that of that nature, um I have to say one of the biggest things that my parents have always done with me was being transparent to me and telling me,
Mm,
here's what's going on in your life, here's what we're going to have to do. And if it was bad news that some parents or some people would want, they were very kind in the way
mm.
of presenting it, but would present that and tell me, and by giving me that sense of understanding that there's no surprises.
Mm. Well, JT, you were talking about how at school you were so lucky that when many other times kids that went through what you did were picked on, treated pretty badly, but you had a supporting school, you had a supporting friends in a small town. What would you say to young people going through something similar where they can either use what they're going through as fuel for success or they can use it as a reason not to succeed? And you've been there, done that. So you're speaking
Yeah.
from experience.
Yeah. This is such a great question. And a lot of it has to do with mindset.
Yep.
Being able to, we all have those down days, right? Where
Yeah.
you are in the gutter and you're saying, this is terrible and what I'm going through is terrible. And for me, a person of faith, why God is
Mm,
this happening to me? But with that, um, a lot of the times you have to take a step back and say, you know what, everyone, has their own difficulty or challenge that they're going to face in their life.
yep.
And am I going to be the one that faces it, head on and takes it on and goes on with success and powers through? Or am I going to be the one that, the challenge overtakes? And I've realized that with having a strong support system,
Mm,
um, is one of the ways that you can succeed. Because in that time of need, when you're down in the dumps, you can go and talk to someone, and hopefully, they can help you turn around and push you back to becoming successful and getting through what you're going through.
so what was it like when you left school? What did you do?
Yeah. So when I left school, my lower school, and then from there, I'll give you a quick little history. I went from lower school to middle school, where I was actually homeschooled in this program for reading
Mm,
and writing,
yep.
and had a wonderful teacher that was able to help me and get me to a point where I was able to go back to the school that I started in for high school.
Mm,
And then from there, we go to college. And so I was fortunate enough. I was someone who thought would never graduate from high school, let alone college, which I ended up doing after
yep.
going to school in North Carolina, and went to a small school there called High Point University. And to be honest, High Point was the spot for me. And it was the reason for a lot more of my success because of the people there, the ambiance there. And one thing that I did, I'm just throwing this in there too, is when I was going to look for a college, um, I didn't know what to look for.
Yeah.
And searching around many, many schools, a lot of great schools out there. But when I came across this school and I saw just the way that the teachers and the administration all interacted so much with the people. A quick little jaunt to that is the president is Dr. Nito Cubane, who's a public speaker, businessman, turned into an educator and running this university. And he ran into us on our first day of visiting. And he came across us, talked to us for 45 minutes, and then ends up telling us he had to get going because he was late for his son's birthday. And this was in the evening, and he was coming out of the chapel on campus. And I said, the fact that he spent 45 minutes with us on his son's birthday, and the fact that he's on campus at this time in the evening, that means that there's a lot of people that really care about the students here. He's the leader, and he's teaching from the top down. Many people are like that. So with that leadership and the idea of being able to persevere through challenges, whether that's whatever aspect of life, having the people around you that are positive and strong-willed to tell you the truth too.
Yes,
it's important.
It is. So, yeah, I mean, you're talking about culture there. Culture when you're learning, culture at work, culture around where you live is important. What did you study at uni?
Yeah, so I studied business administration. So went on a little different path, but there's still a lot of business aspects of things that I'm working on as well. But yeah.
So when you're thinking of that, was there any time that you said, right, I'm going to do something physically that I shouldn't do, but I'm going to do, and I'm just going to have a go at it? Have you ever challenged yourself that way?
Yeah. So, so physically, I love physical activity, and one of the things that I have found to sort of escape from the no-sayers, the challenge, the challenges you're going through was nature for me. And that meant, getting up, going out and getting hiking, skiing, mountain biking, all sorts of different activities, things on the water. But one of them that was a real challenge for me, and with the medical side of things, was one of the reasons it was harder. I have to do a medical treatment every day, which flushes out my system, basically, in layman's terms. But with that medical thing, I really have always wanted to. I love climbing, and so I really wanted to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
So in 2018, when I graduated college, I went on to do this accomplishment, and we finished it. And it had its own ups and downs, but reaching
literally.
What's that? Yeah,
literally.
Yeah, literally. But reaching the summit of Mount Kilimanjaro was an experience of a lifetime. That was something like the college aspect of never thinking that I'd be able to go to college. This was another thing that I never thought I'd be able to do physically because of the medical limitations. But as we found, there's no limitations as long as you figure out the right team and also have the right mindset to persevere to get it done. So Mount Kilimanjaro is one of the things that I have accomplished, and in the physical aspect. And in the last 2 months, I have just finished doing an event called 29,029.
Okay.
It's Everest. That's the elevation of Mount Everest.
Yes.
And so you do it here in the States. You go to Utah, and they organize this event where you hike up to the top of a ski resort, and you take the chairlift down, and you do it 13 times in 36 hours is what your goal is to accomplish it.
Some people would say you're mad.
Yeah, I think so. But like I said, these are the things that when I accomplish them, or even if you don't accomplish them, but you try, it's really an amazing experience to see what your body can do and what it can teach you too.
A lot of people, I think it's really lovely that you admitted that you're a person of faith. A lot of people these days are too scared for some reason, I don't know, understand, not to say who they are and what they are. Irrespective of someone's faith that they choose, how important is it to have a strong belief system?
Yeah. So for me, from day one, I think I was blessed with having the faith in the Lord,
Mm.
um, and from day one, I say that, but then as life went on,
But it is a
my
choice too, JT.
yeah, and it's a big choice. And
Yeah.
so as time went on, when I got to those ages where you could understand more
Mm.
and make your own choices, right? That is that's when I really realized that, you know what, these struggles in my life are here for a reason. And um thanks to the good Lord, he's been able to give me a mindset that has given me the ability to realize that I can use these as, these are a blessing, because first
Mm.
off, they're a blessing because I have been blessed with a very healthy body altogether, even though I've had these different things that I have to deal with on a day-to-day basis.
Mm.
Physically, I'm able to do the things I love, and uh, and and so I'm blessed in that sense. But I'm also blessed with having the mindset of being able to use it as a positive and learn from it. So back to your question of faith, and in whatever aspect or whatever
Mm.
religion and stuff, you know, the good Lord's been good to me, and I think that it's really been um, important, a huge importance in my life to have faith.
Was there someone you look back at now? Now, I listening to you before and reading up, you're not the type of person to go back and say to someone, "Ha ha, look what I achieved." But is there someone when you look at and say, "Well, this person never believed in me. This person put me down. This person said I would never achieve." That if you saw on the street now, you just look at them and smile and go, "I know what I've done," and you know,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter what you
yeah.
said, I did it.
I think we all have people in our life that could have a negative impact in some way, but
Yeah.
there's one person in particular
Yeah.
in the education field, as you probably know, and he is I this is my outlook on life, I guess,
Yeah.
but I look at it as a huge blessing. If it wasn't for that gentleman to be a no sayer to my education path,
Yep.
I would not have found a program that would have given me the success I've gotten. And so there's reasons for different things that are put in our life, and it's being
Mm.
able to figure out, well, maybe at this moment it's a terrible thing, you think, but in the future, looking back at it, or now looking back at it, I should say, it's been a life changing moment for me too, in the
What
positive.
What do you say to people? There's a lot of people out there now have got to this mindset. I call it blame mindset, where it's everyone else's fault but theirs. They love pointing a finger. They love shouting people down when you may disagree with their point of view, and they never take accountability or ownership of their own actions. And it's always someone else's fault they weren't successful. You could have chosen that, but you chose to be successful. What do you say to kids like that are coming out of uni and are looking at the world and going, it's everyone else's fault. Mum and daddy didn't give me this. The government didn't
Mhm.
do this for me. It's the teacher that marked me too hard. I mean, we've all seen
Yeah,
those people.
of course. Um and that's, I mean, it's a tough, it's a tough situation, that it's all about, like I say, mindset,
Mm.
um and looking at someone and comparing yourself to someone else,
Mm.
um is, I think, you know for you, for me, whatever point in our life we're at, you
Yeah,
can compare yourself to someone. Now success is defined in so many ways, but you could look at
true.
someone success in financial success and say they're so much more successful than me, right?
Yeah,
But then, there's always going to be someone that's better at something, or or not as good at something. And you have to realize that at that point in your life that you can't be blaming it on other people for your where you think you're not successful, because blaming someone is only going to bring you down more. And being able to say, you know what, I'm going to grow from here and achieve what I want to achieve, or look up to someone and say, I want to become that person, is always important.
Where do you think people find resilience when they really need it the most?
Resilience, you know, the resilience part is really for me has always been like I always say, you're the people that you surround yourself with,
Yep.
is so important. But resilience is within, and within you have to dig in deep sometimes to find that. And
Yeah.
I've been in so many physical areas in my life that it's been like, this is, I need to dig deeper. I need to dig deeper. And when you just keep motivating yourself to look a little bit further, take one more step farther, or, study one more bit of information,
Mm.
to create what you want, is the way to benefit and grow in that success, and create that resilience even stronger, and really build up that mindset.
So someone from you, do you think physical resilience or mental resilience is harder for people these days?
I would say that, for people these days, I think personally, looking at it personally, the physical side it can be easier for me than the mental side of things, like because for me, I can see the end goal.
Yeah.
So if it's a climbing up Mount Everest in the US here version, you can set a goal, and setting that goal to get to the next point, and then the next point, and the next point. And if it takes you, 1 hour, or it takes you 2 hours, you have that goal, and it's a visual goal. And on the mental side of things, for me, I can struggle with a little bit more. But then again, it's putting that best foot forward in everything you do.
So these days, you're what we call an in-demand public speaker. People love you to come and talk about what you've done, be it on podcasts, or we used to do it in person. What's the most popular thing they ask you to talk to a group of people about?
Yeah, most popular thing is definitely about overcoming challenges, and to that point, just being able to have a mindset, or to display sort of my roadmap of my life, and how, I have found certain things in my life to create more success for me. And with that, that's the physical side of things. That's being physical, working out, doing those kind of things helps the mind so much. And then setting those goals, and in the mind area of setting goals to be able to conquer new goals, whether it's in business or work, or in physical too.
So you're really all about stretching, as we call it.
Yeah, one more step.
One more step.
As a saying on Kilimanjaro is pulley pulley, slow and steady. And sometimes that's what you have to do to accomplish your goals. There's
an ultra marathon runner over here by the name of Pat Farmer, who's actually run around Australia twice, but he was famous in America there was a foot race that went from one side of the States to the other, and he did it on a broken leg. And someone asked him at the end of it, Pat, how did you do it? And he's an amazing guy. I've actually had the pleasure of interviewing him. I've known him for quite a while. And he said, one foot after the other. And people
So
at
true.
first thought he was being smart, but he wasn't. I mean, he went from the North Pole to the South Pole.
Okay.
And again, they said, how did you do it? And he said, one foot after the other. And you can achieve anything in life if you just look at it that way.
It's very cool. Very cool.
Yeah. So you've written one book and you're about to
have.
write another. What was your first book about?
So the first book was Untethered, and it's actually the book that took me into the area I am now of public speaking. And it was something in college that I was at a point where I wanted to learn more about my medical history as well as education, and pull it all together, and was going to just keep it for my own self.
Yes.
And then family and friends said, you know what, you should really publish this and get this message out. I think people could learn from it.
Yeah.
And so went about doing that. And then the new book, which is going to be named No Bad Days.
Yes.
And it's a saying that comes from when I was in the hospital. My dad said to me, I'm sorry, JT, you're going through this, da, da, da. And I said to my dad, I said, Dad, there are no bad days. There's only hard days, and we get through them. And so the book talks about overcoming challenges is the biggest part of it. And the cool thing is it's so many amazing people in their stories. It's not just my story. My story's interwoven in it, but it pulls from other people's stories and their challenges. So I'm excited about it. It'll be out March 8th in the States here.
March 8th. So,
Yep.
well, we might get you back on when that's out to talk about the book and give it a bit of a plug, because I'm getting quite a few authors coming through now, and it's when you see that, and people I know are listening to this, but anyone watching this on YouTube, when you mention their new book to an author like you, the whole face lights up and they get so excited.
No, it's been a very fun journey.
Mate, what was it like the first time you went on stage and you did a speech and people clapped and actually appreciated what you was talking about? How did that make you feel?
Yeah. It's a great feeling of, the fact that you're able to give back, and with some excitement in the crowd is always a good thing.
Yeah, that's true. Very true.
It's a good thing. But I think the most rewarding thing is sometimes afterwards a talk, or months later, or even longer than that, getting an email or getting a message from someone and just saying, hey, I took what you the advice you gave me, or the message you gave me, maybe not even the overall story, and I took that to heart, and I used it to really, create this in my life, and it was, impactful to me. And it's those messages that are, so touching and stuff as well.
As we start to come out of this pandemic around the world, and there'll be young people out there a little lost, a little wondering, what am I going to do? The world is, I enrolled into uni, and some kids got to do 10 months of a 3 or 4 year course at uni. They've had none of the social aspects, none of the friendship aspects. They've had no time to work out where their place is in life. And it's very similar to you. It was thrust upon you. You weren't given a choice of what you had. What would you say to young people coming into that journey now and looking around going, what am I going to do?
Yeah. I think I face this too, my age and everything. It definitely is an interesting time to have this impact our lives with COVID and everything. And it's a time for the public speaking that went away completely. So we had to, adapt, and we have, and I think that being able to adapt and being able to realize that, all right, well, we're going to get through this, and figure out, new ways of attacking what you want to achieve.
Yep.
And being resourceful, and finding, different things that can help you achieve that. But also just don't give up. and really carry on and push through with, what your goals are.
Yeah.
Um, and there's one other thing that it just, um, in life with different difficulties and things, the biggest thing is being able to, um, you know, realize that, you're going to get through this and you're going to find the success that you want and stuff as well.
So what's the next big challenge for JT?
Next big challenge is there's definitely going to be a physical one here soon. Have to plug one of those in. We're training for a paddleboard event
Yes.
that will go from a bridge here in Port Huron, Michigan, to Detroit, Michigan, which will be over 60 some miles.
Yes.
And very excited about this. It's an event that we're creating, me and a group of friends, and it will be for foundations.
Yes.
And so my big goal right now physically is training for that. And then another goal is I have a foundation that I started this past a year ago, and then COVID happened. So we changed up some of the events, obviously had to be canceled. So from there, we did this 29029 as a fundraiser. And so it was a physical fund, me doing something and allowing people to follow along and donate.
Yep.
And we were very successful with that. And from there, I've had the opportunity in the last 2 weeks to donate to two of the foundations that are near and dear to my heart.
Yeah.
Both being in the medical field.
Yes.
And so my big goal really is obviously the book, accomplishing and finishing, wrapping that up. And then from there, I'd have to say is the foundation and really trying to grow that to give back to others.
Yeah, I'm with you there. I do something similar in Australia, and there's nothing better than raising a bit of money and putting a smile on people's faces when you give back to society.
Exactly.
Not enough done, especially by our big corporations these days. There should be more done. So if anyone wants to get hold of you or find you on the social these days, how do people get in touch?
So social media on all aspects. So from Facebook to Twitter to Instagram, and YouTube, which Instagram and YouTube is probably the best social medias to follow along on. But with that is JT Jester Speaks. And you can find us there, or jtjester.com is the website. And you can find a boatload of information there as well.
Well, I'll put all those links in the show notes so people will be able to find you, and even on YouTube as well, so they won't have an issue. So before we go, I'm going to ask you one quick question.
Yeah.
If you were sitting down in Detroit having a quiet beer and you got two seats at the table, who would you like to have a beer with, dead or alive, and why? Anybody?
I'd have to say my grandpa, which is a whole nother podcast story, but a great guy and still alive at 92 years old and an excellent person. And then I'd say another person that's really near and dear to my heart is a gentleman who I climbed Mount Kilimanjaro with, and has taught me about my passions in life. And his name is Ladislav Vataski, and he is from the Czech Republic. Brilliant man who has graduated from Cornell University here in the States, and from there works in a great industry in an airlines industry. And from there, it just has a passion and love for pushing the body and seeing what it can do in the physical area. So,
mate, it's been absolutely brilliant listening to your story. You are a true inspiration to people who think that they're having a bad day. I look forward to having a chat with you next year when your book comes out. I think that's going to be awesome to read. So you look after yourself over there in the US. Thank you so much again for taking the time out of your very busy schedule. I know it was hard.
Well, thank you so much, Rob, for this time and for bringing me on. And I'm honored to be on your podcast as well. So thank you so much.
No worries, GT. And as we always say to everyone at the end of our podcast, have a groovy day.